I didn't have enough topics because I'm lazy and I've been working on a real video. So what you do in this situation is you go to PragerU University and you hope and pray they've posted something recently that you can laugh at. The Hall of Evil, Fidel Castro. Okay, this is up my alley. I want to learn about the evil Fidel Castro. What did he do that's so evil? Let's find out. Who have they got? Paul Kenger, professor of political science at Grove City College. I've never heard of that in my life. What is Grove City College? Is that even a real college? A conservative Christian college in PA. Man, in the USA, you can register as like a college, literally fucking anything. This should not be allowed to exist. This should not be sanctioned as a university. A private conservative Christian. Anyone can just make a fucking university in your country. It's crazy. Where did he get his degree? Paul Kenger. Let's poison the well a little bit. The Devil and Karl Marx. Oh, this is the guy who argued that Karl Marx was a Satanist or something. I remember him because he was in a he's from the Heritage Foundation. He's basically from all the right-wing think tanks. Let's see what he has to say about Fidel Castro. Let's find out.
If you consider how many people Lenin, Stalin, Hitler, Mao, and Pol Pot killed, Fidel Castro is small potatoes. Yet, he merits a vaunted position in the 20th century's Hall of Evil. Here's why.
I really wish that they would like signal when they have like an actual PragerU video for you. Like the thumbnail of this one was not clear at all. Like I want when I think PragerU, I think these videos with like the same graphics they've used for the last 20 years, the blue background. That's what I want. I don't want Glenn Jacobs telling us about freedom and democracy or whatever, and how the trans people are threatening it. I want this.
He imprisoned the entire nation of Cuba. He destroyed its economy, impoverishing millions while enriching himself.
Let's find out how.
He arrested, tortured, and murdered political opponents. He energetically
I think they deserved it.
His Marxist ideology throughout Central America, South America, and parts of Africa, spreading death and suffering well beyond the border.
Let's find out. Let's check out the evidence.
And he almost precipitated a nuclear war between the United States and the Soviet Union.
That's incredible. That's incredible that Cuba, a country without a single nuclear bomb ever under its control, according to this guy, could have started a nuclear war. I can't wait to find out how.
During the Cuban Missile Crisis.
This is definitely AI, by the way. They used to have like these really easy to make simple graphics, and now they have like AI generate me for like Fidel Castro in watercolor or whatever this is.
62. Had he succeeded in that ambition, he would have even surpassed the grim body count of Stalin, Hitler, and Mao. Thankfully, even dictators don't always get what they want. Born on August 13th, 1926, Fidel Castro grew up in comfort and privilege. His father, an immigrant from Spain, was a
It's weird how, like, when it's them, comfort and privilege is good. It's virtuous. Like, why shouldn't you being rich mean that your kids are also rich, right? But when it's someone they don't like, suddenly it becomes something to point out and be like, this guy was comfortable and privileged. This is a bad thing, actually. Like, when does it, like, what's the logic here, okay? It's like, if you're comfortable and privileged, you should advocate for the far-right ideas that help you retain that comfort and privilege, or you're bad. If you actually go against your own interests by trying to help other people, you are bad. So I guess that problem here is that he was a class traitor. I mean, yeah, that's it. They don't like that he was a class traitor against their class. That's simple.
Prosperous sugarcane farmer. Always in a hurry, Castro was only 27 when he made his first stab at revolution. In 1953, he attempted to overthrow the government of Cuban President Fulgencio Batista.
Batista, obviously, was a US-backed dictator, which is left out of this.
Badly undermanned, poorly executed rebellion was easily thwarted. For his troubles, Castro got a 15-year
He doesn't say anything about
prison sentence, but served less than 2. Throughout much of the 1950s, his defenders portrayed him less as a Marxist-Leninist than a garden-variety populist and anti-imperialist.
That's what he actually really was, obviously, because the US controlled the Cuban government and the Cuban economy completely at every level.
According to one of his biographers, as if leading a consumer revolt, Castro protested high electric bills and inadequate telephone service.
And? What's wrong with that?
In any case, his rebel movement languished in the Cuban hills, hanging on by the thinnest of threads. To say he had 100 followers would be a generous estimation. Then, out of the blue, Castro found a savior, the New York Times. In an exclusive 1957 interview with Times reporter Herbert Matthews,
they're trying to frame the Cuban Revolution as if it was failing, and then the New York Times, which they hate because it said bad things about Trump once or twice, they came in and they made everything good for them. So what actually happened in the Cuban Revolution is they landed on a boat from Mexico with How many was it? I think it was around 100 people. Only around 30 of them survived, but they managed to drum up support against the peasants in the countryside where they had landed and slowly build up a guerrilla army that was eventually able to overthrow the US-backed dictatorship. The reason why they were able to do this is because the dictatorship and the US control of the country was incredibly unpopular and people wanted it gone. That's what actually happened. People in Cuba who joined up with Castro did not read the fucking New York Times. Most of them actually couldn't read. Not in Spanish, let alone in English. And I seriously doubt that the New York Times was highly circulating among the peasants who he recruited. So I'm not sure about this one here. I gotta tell you. Anyway, let's see what else our friend here has to say.
Castro promised that, above all, we are fighting for a democratic Cuba. Matthews portrayed Castro's program as a new deal for the island nation. He has strong ideas, Matthews wrote, of liberty, democracy, and social justice.
Indeed he did.
Matthews' influential reporting breathed new life into Fidel's movement. Right-hand man and future chief executioner.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. Do you think the fucking illiterate peasants who fought for him were like, fuck yeah, dude? New York Times said so? I'm in. I was on the fence, but now, hell yeah. I'm a communist.
Che Guevara later said, when the world had given us up for dead, the interview with Matthews put the lie to our disappearance.
So basically, what this means, if it is real, would be that Batista was lying and saying the rebels had been defeated. But what this interview was, if you see the framing of it, showed that wasn't true, because Batista was, very worried about potentially being overthrown, and his propaganda department basically started saying, no, this isn't happening. So this interview, what it primarily was about, was proof of life, basically. The rebels were actually showing that they were popular, that they had so much leverage and like so much clout with the people around them, they could literally invite reporters to where they were hiding and show them around and stuff. While the government was claiming, as this quote clearly implies, that they had already been practically defeated. So the quote is real. The quote is real, but the characterization of it is obvious bullshit.
It also helped that President Batista kept killing the heads of other rebel groups in his attempt to hang on to power.
President Batista, he just... Like, they gloss over everything. Like, it's like, this guy's the president. That was the only mention they made of him before. And now it's like, oh, he just keeps killing the heads of rebel groups. He just keeps killing people. He just keeps killing people. That's it. Just that mention, like, oh, he just, by the way, he was killing people. And they were fighting against him. And apparently it's not warranted for them to fight against him.
Castro was the last rebel standing. On New Year's Day 1959, he achieved the goal he had long sought. Batista fled the country. The island nation now belonged to Fidel.
Good job,
Many
Fidel.
Cubans celebrated. They and Western leftists insisted that Cuba had found its own George Washington.
Overwhelming amounts. Like, this is my favorite ever YouTube video. Watch this. Watch this. Check this out. Cubans demand more executions. This is my favorite video ever made. Check it out. Show them this when they tell you that the Cuban Revolution was not popular.
In front of the presidential palace in Havana, nearly 1 million people, which is just about the whole population of this capital city.
1 million people. 1 in 7 people in the entire country were here, demanding more executions. Remember this when they tell you that the Cuban Revolution wasn't popular.
Gathered at the bidding of their new leader, Fidel Castro. The summary courts-martial and executions of Batista followers have brought...
Look at this in English. They made this sign specifically for the international press to see. Cuban mothers want the executions of the murderers who brought our children to death. Fantastic.
Criticisms from abroad, especially America. Castro wanted to know how his countrymen felt on the subject, and the hysterical reception...
Look at this is like a pro-execution protest against the fascists. Long live the revolution, death to the murderers. Fidel, I can't really read the rest of that.
And the hysterical reception shows that Cubans would support just about anything he did.
He was so unpopular, man. God. So undemocratic.
Dr. Castro, a 32-year-old lawyer, has recently banned the Roman holiday-type trials at the local sports stadium. He certainly displays great eloquence and a powerful personality.
Con que la revolución cubana sabe también pelear y ganar batallas en este campo.
Ask any of Castro's detractors if they would stand in the middle of 1 million people like this with nothing protecting them and have faith that they would be safe. They never would.
It looks as if the chances of the ex-president's followers are not worth a cupful of burnt sugar. Despite outside criticism of Castro's methods, trials and executions will continue.
And they duly did, and I'm glad they did. Criminals, mass murderers should get justice against them once they are overthrown. All countries could learn from this. South Africa especially should have learned from it.
In April 1959, Castro appeared on NBC's Meet the Press, where he declared that democracy is...
Okay, oh my god, the fucking video, it's just them trying to use Fidel Castro to launder like their modern day crusade against supposed like liberal news outlets. That's the whole point of this. New York Times first, now NBC. They interviewed the president of a neighboring country? This is why Donald Trump should shut them down. I mean, he should shut them down, but not because of this, just because it would ruin American imperial media.
My ideal. I am not a communist. In truth, Castro cared as much about democracy as Lenin, Stalin, or Mao did. He only cared about getting power and
How did he not care about democracy, given that he was clearly incredibly popular, overwhelmingly so? Quite clearly, when the most popular person is in power, that's the very definition of democracy, which means basically of the people, power coming from the people. Quite democratic, I would say. Way more democratic than any American election, where like the winning candidate has like 30% approval rating.
Once he had it, he announced who he really was all along. I am a Marxist-Leninist and shall be one until the end of my life.
Good work, bud.
Castro created a totalitarian communist dictatorship, the most militarized, repressive nation in the Western Hemisphere.
That's the USA. What the fuck are you talking about? Not even close.
He banned freedom of speech, press, property, assembly, religion, and even the right of people to leave the country. He staged show trials and launched purges. He tossed countless souls into his jails.
It's just gonna like state a bunch of things with no evidence, like not even examples or anything.
From dissidents to priests to homosexuals. He also brought death. The Black Book of Communism, the authoritative
The Black Book of... Oh, that's the evidence. The Black Book of Communism. There it is. In a PragerU video, you get one citation every video, and they're using it really well here, aren't they?
Catalog of communist atrocities states that in the 1960s alone, Fidel arrested 30,000 people for political reasons and executed.
I mean, the country was full of fucking fascists post-revolution. I'm glad they got arrested so they couldn't spread fascism and do counter-revolution. Especially given that there were literally like, there was an armed American-backed, multiple times, there was an armed American-backed invasion, the Bay of Pigs invasion, and there were fascist militias in the jungle that tried to do like a counter-revolution against the wildly popular Cuban Revolution. So yeah, of course people are going to be arrested, executed.
7,000 to 10,000.
7,000 to 10,000. By the way, you ask them who these people are, they can never actually tell you. But when you look them up, as I've done before in my video on who did Che Guevara kill, basically it's always like fucking, oh, this guy was a police officer who murdered 10 people. Shit like that. It's always the same. Like, yeah, they got executed in a country where execution was already legal for like capital crimes. And I'm glad they did. Great.
That doesn't count the 33,000 who drowned in shark-infested waters trying to get to the United States. The overall death toll grew to 100,000 by the time Fidel retired.
That actually sounds really good. Like landowners fleeing after their land was appropriated and getting eaten by sharks. I mean, poetic justice, really.
In 2008, Castro...
This is basically just like taking every single death in the USA every year and attributing it to whoever the current president was.
His idea of equity was to make everyone equal by making everyone poor.
Oh, so before everyone was rich and now everyone was poor.
Limited salaries across professions, from janitors to doctors to baseball players, to under $200 per year.
Like he's just saying this to like an audience to whom that's like not a lot of money without like any context of what the price of goods are, like the subsidies and stuff like that.
Contrast, according to Forbes magazine, Castro's net worth was estimated at nearly $1 billion.
Oh, well, I mean, if Forbes magazine said so, that makes it true, right? If Forbes magazine just made up a number, that means it's true. Done.
None of this mattered to the cadre of left-leaning politicians, journalists, and celebrities who, like Herbert Matthews, were dazzled by Castro's
Okay, who's the next American media outlet they're going to blame for this?
personal charm. Dan Rather, the famed CBS news anchor...
CBS, that's another one. They got to get CNN in here as well. Where's CNN? You have a minute. Without CNN, it's an incomplete video. You can't make a video as a right-wing American political idiot trying to link like the liberal media in your country to like all the world's woes without mentioning CNN. If you don't get CNN in here somehow, you're fucked up.
Castro, Cuba's own Elvis. Fidel's fan club invariably praised
I mean, we saw how everyone loved him.
the island's high level of literacy and universal health care.
So they praise
But being literate
they praise objective facts.
is no substitute for being free. And Cuba's low-tech healthcare is certainly nothing to celebrate. It's
I mean, if you said so.
universal and bad. The proof,
That must be why the life expectancy is higher than in your country.
who goes there for medical care? It's impossible
No one goes there for medical care because they don't sell healthcare. Cuba doesn't export healthcare. You can't buy healthcare there. It's public. It's free. It's for people who live there. So that's why they don't fucking go there. You can't. You can't go to Cuba to buy medical care. It's not a thing.
to know, of course, what Cuba would be like today if Castro and communism hadn't destroyed it. But based on its economy in 1959, when it ranked 5th in per capita income in the Western Hemisphere, and based on how Castro's exiles have so thrived in the United States, it would undoubtedly be far more
Have they?
prosperous than it is now. And infinitely
I mean, if
more
you
free.
said so, it would be.
I'm Paul
If
Kendor,
you said
professor
so, that
of
makes it true, right?
political science at Grove City College and editor of the American Spectator for Prager University. Thank you for watching this video.
I'm happy to meet you. What was his name? Paul Kendor. And I wish you luck in your job at Grove City College, but you failed here. You didn't get CNN into your video, which is ostensibly, supposedly about educating people on Fidel Castro, but was actually just fucking a reason for you to complain about fucking pro-Democrat American media. Dear God. Glad to get some PragerU back in here. It's been a while. I hope Dennis Prager himself recovers soon so we can get more fireside chats. Praying for him every night.